poisonous pit of unexpressed feelings or untended quirks that never quite get worked out.
That is one of the profound sayings of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a man who dedicated his entire life to turning art into his own voice. A man who once believed he could feel safe even in the most uncertain moments. Yet fate chose the harshest way to test that belief. On July 20th, 2025, Warner passed away forever at the age of 54 after a drowning accident in Costa Rica. A star who had inspired millions ended his journey in a violent afternoon of the Caribbean Sea. But the truth about his final moments is not encapsulated in the brief line drowning. There was a special witness, someone who was right beside him, who fought for 45 minutes to win Warner's life back, and who is also the only one able to recount in detail what truly happened. Mike Geist, lifeguard trainer and vice president of the Caribbean Guard. So in those 45 life and death minutes, what really happened? What did Mike Geist see that the world has never heard? And was Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death merely an accident, or does it conceal mysteries that have never been revealed? Stay until the end of the video to uncover the full truth about the final moments of Malcolm-Jamal Warner through the testimony of the eyewitness. And it all began with a trip that seemed like just an ordinary vacation, but in the end, turned out to be destiny. The fateful trip to Costa Rica. On July 13, 2025, Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the television star born in 1970, who once captivated millions of American viewers with his role as Theo Huxtable in the legendary sitcom The Cosby Show, arrived in Costa Rica with his wife and 8-year-old daughter. It was a long-awaited summer vacation. After months of busy filming wrapping up the final episodes of The Resident 2018-2023, Warner decided to devote his time entirely to his family. For him, these rare days off were a chance to return to being a father and a husband, leaving behind the studio lights and living fully with his loved ones. Their destination was Playa Cocles, located in Limon Province on Costa Rica's Caribbean coast. This beach is famous for its unspoiled beauty with long stretches of white waves that attract countless tourists and professional surfers alike. Yet beneath its picturesque charm lies the fury of nature, powerful rip currents that constantly threaten those who swim too far out. Locals often remind visitors of the red warning signs cautioning them that Cocles is not a place for carelessness. For Warner, this was more than just a vacation. At 54, he was enjoying a solid stage in both career and life. After winning a Grammy in 2015 for Best Traditional R&B Performance, he went on to play Dr. A.J. Austin in The Resident, a role beloved by audiences. In 2024, he also co-founded the podcast Not All Hood, aiming to break stigmas surrounding mental health in the Black community. Warner continued to dedicate himself to his craft while cherishing every private moment. Costa Rica thus became the perfect stop for his family to enjoy simple pleasures, the blue sea golden sunshine surfing sessions, and joyous laughter on the white sands. On the morning of July 20th, just one day before their vacation was set to end, Warner joined his family and a few friends in a surfing lesson on the beach. Mike Geist, a volunteer lifeguard active in the area, recalled, "They had a very fun surfing session. Afterward, everyone relaxed on the shore basking in the warm sun." No one could have imagined that the decision to return to the water once more that afternoon would open the door to tragedy. Around 2:10 p.m., as Warner and his daughter waded into the surf, a rip current suddenly formed. In an instant, the powerful waters pulled them far from shore. The 8-year-old girl, fortunately, was lifted onto a surfboard by another surfer and brought safely back to the beach. But Warner was not so fortunate. He struggled, flailing against the strong waves. Witnesses recalled how within moments, he disappeared beneath the water, as if the Caribbean Sea had swallowed him in a single breath. The summer vacation that should have ended with smiles turned into a nightmare. The devoted father, the multi-talented artist, the man who once said that family was the greatest role of his life, slipped away in the desperate arms of those trying to save him. On that beach, his wife's cries mingled with the crashing waves. And at that very moment, the fight for his life began. A 45-minute struggle filled with anguish, where every chest compression, every artificial breath was performed as if clinging to the last fragile hope. Those were minutes of life and death that no one could forget, especially through the words of the rescuer who was there that day. The haunting minutes of life and death. Playa Cocles, though beautiful, has long been known as a two-faced beach, alluring yet deadly. In an instant, Warner and two others, his wife and a female companion, were pulled far out to sea. Shouts for help erupted, turning the once bustling beach into a scene of panic. At first, witnesses even mistook that Warner's 8-year-old daughter had been dragged into the water, but Costa Rican police later clarified that she was safe on shore. Nearby surfers, along with a doctor who happened to be present, quickly jumped in and rescued 2 victims. But when they brought them ashore, it was only then that everyone realized one person was still missing: Warner himself. Mike Geist, who was near the scene, heard the cries and reacted immediately. Having worked in rescue operations for years, he was then serving as vice president of the Caribbean Guard, a group of 35 volunteers stationed across Caribbean beaches. Geist, along with another volunteer doctor, dove into the water to search. After several tense minutes, a motionless figure appeared beneath the waves. It was Warner. The doctor pulled Warner up and attempted 5 rescue breaths right there in the water before helping Geist bring him back to shore. From that moment began 45 minutes of life and death that Geist would never forget. "We did everything we could." Geist later recalled, his voice still heavy with emotion. On the beach, he and 2 doctors took turns performing chest compressions and artificial respiration fighting to keep Warner's breath alive. Other beachgoers rushed to provide an automated external defibrillator AED ready for use until the ambulance arrived. The Costa Rican Red Cross confirmed they received the emergency call at 2:10 p.m., and within just 12 minutes, 3 ambulances arrived on the scene. Yet before the professionals could take over, all hope rested in the hands of Geist and the volunteers. For more than 30 relentless minutes, Warner showed no response. The sun blazed overhead, sweat mingled with seawater, but no one stopped. No one wanted to give up. "We rotated shifts to give him more chances," Geist said. At nearly 3:00 p.m., the ambulances reached the beach. Medical staff continued resuscitation for several more minutes, but ultimately had to deliver the final announcement: Malcolm-Jamal Warner had died at the scene from drowning, with the official medical cause listed as asphyxia by submersion. A heavy silence blanketed the beach. Many tourists broke into tears, while the rescuers collapsed into the sand, exhausted after 45 minutes of battling death. What makes these details so vivid, from the moment Warner was pulled under until the official pronouncement of death, is that they were recorded thanks to Mike Geist's testimony. He was not only a rescuer, but became the living recorder of the tragedy. Through him, the world learned that Warner did not depart in silence, but surrounded by strangers who did everything in their power to save him. His account transformed 45 painful minutes into proof of humanity and courage. In his recollections, Geist repeatedly emphasized that Warner was fought for until his very last breath. That story turned his death into more than just an accident. It became a stark reminder of life's fragility and the strength of human solidarity. It also explains why global audiences were so deeply moved by the news they had not only lost a television star, but felt the anguish and devotion in every rescue effort. And from here, the most crucial question arises: who exactly is Mike Geist? What made this witness capable of recounting the entire truth, and why does his testimony carry such extraordinary weight? Mike Geist, the unsung hero. Among all those present at Playa Cocals that afternoon, no one understood the full brutality of the tragedy more than Mike Geist. He not only witnessed it, but directly took part in the final effort to win back Malcolm-Jamal Warner's life. Geist's later accounts of those moments were raw and haunting, making the world shudder at the fragility of human life against the fury of the sea. When cries for help echoed across the waves, a volunteer lifeguard, who was also a local surfer, plunged straight into the saltwater. He dove deep and found Warner lying motionless on the seabed. He was almost completely submerged, his body heavy and unresponsive, Geist recalled. That companion struggled to pull Warner up, and right at the surface, a doctor who happened to be on shore performed 5 rescue breaths. But Warner remained still, showing no signs of life. By the time Warner was brought onto the sand, he was already in cardiac and respiratory arrest. Mike Geist immediately coordinated with 2 doctors who were present at the scene. One performed chest compressions, another maintained the airway, and the third gave artificial respiration. "We didn't let a single second go to waste," Geist emphasized. Amid the crashing waves and the desperate tears of Warner's wife and child, each forceful chest compression echoed like the faint knocking of life at death's door. 30 minutes passed, then 45. Those performing resuscitation grew exhausted, drenched in sweat, yet not one of them stopped. It was an intense race against time, where everyone believed that just a little more effort might bring a miracle. When the Costa Rican Red Cross ambulance arrived, they carried an automated external defibrillator. One shock, then two, then three. But on the monitor, the line remained a cold, flat trace. We held out hope until the very last moment, but there was no response. Geist sighed in his recollection. After nearly an hour of desperate struggle, medical staff were forced to deliver the announcement no one wanted to hear. Malcolm-Jamal Warner had died right there on the beach, the same place where he had joyfully surfed just hours earlier. For Geist, it was the most heartbreaking experience of his entire rescue career. He admitted to feeling powerless as he watched a life slip away despite doing everything humanly possible. What moved people even more was that Geist and Warner were complete strangers. They had never met, never exchanged a word, yet in that life-or-death moment, Geist became Warner's only anchor. For 45 minutes, he refused to give up, doing everything he could to win back the life of a man he had just met for the first time. It was this that made Mike Geist recognized as a silent hero, a symbol of devotion and humanity. Mike Geist was no stranger to the sea. He was a lifeguard trainer and vice president of the Caribbean Guard, a volunteer rescue group of 35 staff stationed along Costa Rica's Caribbean coast. His work was not glamorous, but it was vital. Every day, he and his colleagues had to be ready to confront deadly rip currents, sudden drownings, and water sports accidents. The statistics recorded by the Caribbean Guard show the harsh reality. In the summer of 2024 alone, the group carried out over 120 emergency rescues, nearly 30 of them involving tourists pulled out by rip currents. Geist's presence at Playa Cocals that afternoon was no coincidence. He and a colleague were stationed near the beach observing conditions when they heard the piercing screams. "We immediately knew something terrible was happening," he recounted in an interview afterward. Just seconds later, Geist dove into the water. With years of experience, he knew he could not hesitate. Every passing minute could mean the difference between life and death. Geist did not hide his lingering pain, as he remembered, "We tried until the very end." He had a whole team around him, everyone pouring their hearts into saving him. But the sea is sometimes too cruel. That simple, haunting statement was widely quoted on social media as a farewell to Warner. He was not Warner's relative nor his colleague, but he became the keeper of memory of Warner's final moments. Through his dedication, he helped the public understand the tragedy more clearly, while at the same time affirming the value of rescue work. 45 minutes of life and death and the final tears. News of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death at the age of 54 spread like a media storm. Just hours after Costa Rican outlets confirmed the cause of death, as drowning major U.S. publications such as ABC News, the Los Angeles Times-People, and WWNY-TV simultaneously reported it. Headlines flashing across screens left millions of fans stunned. The Cosby Show star Malcolm-Jamal Warner dies while vacationing in Costa Rica. His sudden passing shocked not only because of its unexpectedness, but because Warner had long become a part of the childhood memories of an entire generation of American viewers. Among the first to speak out was Raven Simonet, the actress who played Olivia, the young cousin in The Cosby Show. On Instagram, she posted a trembling video, tears streaming down her face. There are no words to describe the pain and shock of losing MJW. He was like a big brother, a multi-talented artist, and a gentle man. Raven also offered prayers for Warner's daughter, wife, and mother, ending with the words, "Your radiant smile will forever remain etched in my mind. Love you, and believe you are watching over us from above." Morris Chestnut, Warner's co-star in The Resident 2018-2023, shared his feelings on social media. "My heart broke when I heard the news of your passing. Working with you was an honor. You brought depth, warmth, and invaluable advice into every scene. You were truly one of the good ones in this business. Rest easy, brother. Your legacy will endure." Actress Tracy Ellis Ross, who starred alongside Warner in the sitcom, Read Between the Lines, also could not hide her grief. She posted a series of photos with Warner along with the message, "I love you, Malcolm. My heart is broken. You were a wonderful actor and friend, warm, profound, funny, and refined. You made the world brighter, sending love to your family. I am so deeply sorry for this unimaginable loss." Even stars who had never directly worked with Warner paid tribute. Beyoncé, who rarely comments on the passing of fellow artists, dedicated a memorial page on her official website, "Rest in peace, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Thank you for being such an important part of television history. You will be missed. Cast members of The Cosby Show such as Keshia Knight, Pulliam Tempest Bledsoe, and Felicia Rashad also shared condolences recalling memories from their days on set. Other big names including Viola Davis, Angela Bassett, and Niecy Nash joined the wave of mourning, turning social media into a global memorial book. It was not only artists, millions of ordinary fans also expressed their emotions. On Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, the hashtag #RipMalcolm-Jamal Warner quickly trended worldwide. Many Generation X viewers, those who grew up in the 1980s, wrote that they felt as though they had lost a piece of their childhood. One fan shared Theo Huxtable was not just a character on screen, but a reflection of ourselves, kids learning how to grow up. Thousands of posts, tribute drawings, and remembrance videos spread online expressing heartfelt affection for an artist who had quietly woven himself into the memories of many generations. This outpouring of grief showed that Warner was not just a television star, but a cultural icon. The Cosby Show had once been the most influential black sitcom in American history, breaking stereotypes and paving the way for countless works that followed. When Warner passed away, the public felt they had lost a piece of that legacy. Media coverage echoed the same sentiment. He did not just leave behind roles, but left a mark on the hearts of audiences. When asked about the global reaction, Mike Geist also appeared moved. I didn't know him before, but after witnessing and recounting it, I understood why people loved him so much. He was part of the collective memory. Geist's presence in the news helped the public feel that Warner had not left in solitude, but was surrounded by people who fought tirelessly to save him. This wave of mourning was only the beginning. Behind it stood a dazzling 40-year career, from The Cosby Show to modern television dramas, from the music stage to the podcast studio. To understand why Warner's passing shook the world so deeply, one must look back at his entire artistic journey, that of a multi-talented artist who left an indelible mark across many fields. The lasting aftershock. To understand why Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death created such an aftershock in the hearts of the public, one must look back at his 4-decade-long artistic journey, a career defined by unforgettable roles, courageous turning points, and the affirmation of his identity beyond the label of a child television star. Warner was born in 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey. At just 14, he was given a life-changing opportunity, the role of Theodore Theo Huxtable in the sitcom The Cosby Show, 1984-1992. Over 8 seasons and 197 episodes, the character of Theo became a familiar image to tens of millions of American households. Warner turned the Huxtable family's only son into a symbol of adolescence, clumsy, mischievous, but always learning life's lessons. Just 2 years after the show first aired in 1986, Warner, at only 16, received an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actor. For American audiences, he was the quintessential boy next door in whom they could see their own children reflected. Breaking free from the immense shadow of Theo Huxtable was a challenge. Many child actors could not overcome it, but Warner chose perseverance. In 1996, he returned to television with the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, which ran until 2000, where he and comedian Eddie Griffin formed a comical yet contrasting duo. The series quickly gained a loyal audience, proving Warner was more than just Theo. In 2011, he joined the sitcom Read Between the Lines alongside Tracee Ellis Ross, once again demonstrating his versatility in family comedy. But Warner did not limit himself to comedy. Across more than 40 years, he appeared in numerous acclaimed TV series, from Major Crimes to Sons of Anarchy, from Suits to American Horror Story. Notably, his role as Dr. A.J. Austin in the medical drama The Resident 2018-2023 left a profound mark. His character was both tough and compassionate, earning Warner a new generation of fans who had only known him through the memory of The Cosby Show. Before his death, he even appeared in several episodes of 911 in 2024, portraying a resilient medical worker who survived a massive fire disaster. Beyond acting, Warner also ventured into directing. He helmed episodes of famous series such as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Kenan and Kel. This proved that Warner did not want to be confined to the role of the man in front of the camera, but sought to make his creative voice heard behind it as well. And if he had been only an actor, Warner would not have been so unique. What made him stand out was music. Warner founded the jazz-funk band Miles Long and released 4 studio albums. In 2015, he won a Grammy Award for Best Traditional R&B Performance, contributing production and spoken word poetry to the cover of Stevie Wonder's Jesus Children of America with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway. Warner earned 2 other Grammy nominations, including one in 2022 for his spoken word album Hiding in Plain View. For many, it was surprising that a sitcom star could reach the pinnacle of music, but for Warner, it was simply another way to express himself. At 50, instead of retreating, Warner opened a new door in June 2024. He and friends launched the podcast Not All Hood, focusing on mental health in the Black community. In the show, he shared honest perspectives, encouraging dialogue and breaking the long-held stigma that Black people must hide their emotional struggles. This was the final project he left behind, a testament that Warner never stopped contributing to society. From a young Black boy in a family sitcom to a mature artist conquering television music and directing, Malcolm-Jamal Warner built a career few child stars could ever achieve. He did not merely live on past glory. He constantly sought to move forward, reinvent himself, and expand his legacy. That is why when Warner suddenly passed away, the void was felt not only on the screen, but also in the perseverance, creativity, and compassion of a true artist. But the story does not end there. His career closed, his life closed, yet Warner's legacy continues to be written, this time through the hands and hearts of his loved ones. In particular, his mother, Pamela Warner, has chosen to preserve his memory and transform grief into action through a heartfelt memorial project, and that is the story to be revealed in the next chapter. From living legacy to memorial. When the news of Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death was officially confirmed, the public was plunged into grief. But for his family, especially his mother, Pamela Warner, the loss was immeasurably deeper. She did not only lose a son, but also a lifelong companion and confidant. And from that boundless love, Pamela chose a special way to keep Warner's flame alive, creating a memorial project called Malcolm-Jamal Warner Living Legacy. On August 6, 2025, just 3 weeks after the tragedy, Pamela introduced an official Instagram account in her son's name. But this was not a simple memorial page. It was a space where Warner's legacy would continue to live on. "I want people to remember Malcolm not just through his death, but through what he left behind," she wrote in the very first post. Living Legacy became a hub of images, videos, memories, and even Warner's unfinished projects. In this way, Pamela turned her grief into action, allowing the public to meet him again every day. In her heartfelt reflections, Pamela described her son with immense pride. Malcolm was a kind man full of love and always saw his mission as helping others realize their own strength. She recalled his journey from an 8-year-old boy, declaring he would spend his life on stage, to a multi-talented artist with 4 music albums, 2 Grammy nominations, and 1 prestigious win in 2015. For her, Warner was not only an actor or musician, but a devoted husband, a loving father, and above all, his mother's best friend. "Being your mother has been a privilege I will always cherish," she wrote with emotion. Pamela also used a haunting image to describe her son's passing. Malcolm was born from water, and he left this world through water. His life cycle has closed in peace. Those words moved many, for they depicted a closed and complete journey, from a sweet beginning to a tragic but meaningful end. The Living Legacy project was not merely personal. Within just weeks of its launch, it attracted hundreds of thousands of followers. Fans found in it a place to share memories, post drawings, poems, or simply messages of thanks. To them, Warner had not vanished. He still lived in every line of dialogue, every note of music, and every childhood memory. Alongside Living Legacy, the Warner family also announced plans for an official memorial service at the end of 2025 or early 2026. It would not be just a farewell, but a gathering of friends, colleagues, and fans to honor Warner's life. The event was expected to take place in Los Angeles, the city intertwined with his television and music career. Many stars, including the cast of The Cosby Show and fellow artists he had collaborated with, were expected to attend. The service promised to be an occasion for sharing untold stories, private memories, and for Warner's legacy to be imprinted once more in collective memory. Through all these efforts, it is clear that Warner left behind more than roles and awards. His true legacy lies in the love he sowed in others, from colleagues to audiences, from family to strangers like Mike Geist. Each person carries a fragment of memory, and when joined together, those fragments form a true living legacy, a legacy that endures through time. This also highlights a simple yet profound message. Warner's life, though cut short abruptly, remains a source of inspiration for those left behind. And perhaps he himself, if still present, would want people to remember him not with tears, but with smiles and gratitude for all that he gave. Malcolm-Jamal Warner has passed away, but his legacy remains in the laughter of The Cosby Show, in the Grammy-winning music, and in the memories of millions of hearts around the world. His sudden death reminds us that life is fragile, but humanity and artistry are eternal. Through the testimony of Mike Geist, we understand that Warner did not leave in solitude, but in the devoted arms of strangers full of compassion. If you found this story meaningful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so we can continue to share more stories that touch the heart.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.